We're live. My first live solo episode. I don't even know how long. It's been a while, but we're here. I will be doing the Ask Tyler Patreon question show type show live today as a special Labor Day broadcast. So I will take questions live in the chat. Additionally, I have all the advanced questions prepared from the Patreon. So let's jump into these first two live questions, and then we'll get to the prepared questions. So first, I want to thank everyone watching. But secondly, what's the earliest you'd take Gibbs in a full PPR redraft league? So I have my rankings on the Patreon, patreon.com/fantasy advice. And there's your link. But for me, I have Gibbs right now at RB10. So somewhere in the second round, I feel perfectly comfortable taking him there in the second round. But I have him RB10. And for week one, this kind of leads into my first prepared question. Who do you foresee as the biggest fantasy riser coming out of the Thursday night game? Well, coincidence, huh? I don't think that first question from Justin foresaw that this was going to happen. But it's Jahmyr Gibbs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be the biggest fantasy riser. Why is that? The Lions are playing the Chiefs. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to have a big role. He's on the thumbnail. We think the Lions are going to lose, right? The Chiefs are probably going to beat the Lions. They're going to be playing from behind. What happens when you're playing from behind? You have a lot of passing attempts. The Lions don't have Jameson Williams. So they're going to be relying on Amon-Ra. But then other than that, two rookies, Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. It's easier to transition in as a running back than it is as a tight end. I think Sam Laporta is going to have a good week one. I have my week one start sit. Sign up for that Patreon. You'll see it. I have Sam Laporta at tight end 18, but I have Jahmyr Gibbs at running back 12. So I'm much more in on Jahmyr Gibbs week one than I am Sam Laporta. And then additionally, whichever Chiefs wide receiver does well, I think it'll be Sky Moore. But if anyone does well, however, it's a good chance for them all to fall. If Marquez Valdes-Scantling is the leader and all the young players, Rashee Rice, Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Justin Ross, they all do bad, then we're going to have a panic for Kansas City. At the end of the day, I think Kansas City's long-term number one is not on their team. So we'll see who that is. Another good question. What do you do if you rebuilt and got Breece and then Bijan 2 years in a row? Your team isn't there yet, but no one will pay enough for your running backs. Well, it's a good question. I would say that you gotta tough because in one QB, rebuilding has to go through wide receiver pretty much, right? In Superflex, you have a choice between wide receiver and young quarterback for your rebuild, but in one QB, you really don't have a choice. I get the idea, as Chad was saying, of being stuck in purgatory, but you can't just get rid of young running backs for nothing. You cannot trade Breece Hall for nothing. You definitely cannot trade Bijan Robinson for nothing. That would be a big, big, big mistake. I wouldn't recommend that. So at some point, you just got to stay the course. And in season, maybe someone will trade for those running backs when they're actually scoring those points. But you cannot just sell them low. You can't do that. That's going to put you even further back because then you tank for that number one pick and got nothing for it. So that's my answer. Let's go to some more of the questions. Well, first, what's up, Tyler? Happy Labor Day. Happy Labor Day to you. It's not a holiday for me. It's not a holiday. I'm here. This is not a holiday. So let's go. Let's crush it. I do also have a surprise for everyone. Is Jaleel McLaughlin worth an ad in a Dynasty league? Well, the microphone is back today. Yeah, I'd say so. He's the RB3 in Denver. Javonte Williams, injury history. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Samaje Perine has had a very, very quiet camp. And that is an understatement. I haven't heard anything about Samaje Perine. He hasn't seen his passing game role that we expected. That's been all Javonte Williams. I got to tell you, I'm a little worried about Samaje Perine. So Jaleel McLaughlin is absolutely worth an ad. I would also tell you, please, I DM'd you on Twitter, Jaleel. I would like to interview you. Please, you have an open invitation on the show. You're more than welcome. So get back to me if you're hearing this. You're not, but I'd love that. Thanks, Toronto Dave. So let's see. We have a few more advanced questions. So from Sam, I posted this in a comment on the last show. Dynasty best ball with large rosters. Are there any deep dive flyers take off the wire of 2 open spots? So I have a few suggestions. Ronnie Bell. He was a good prospect, the wide receiver in San Francisco, but he fell to the 7th round. Danny Gray is on IR. So Bell might have an opportunity to get some playing time early in San Francisco. It's a great offense. So we know Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, and Brandon Ayuk all have health issues. They have trouble, inconsistent. So you never know. San Francisco's an offense we want to target with Kyle Shanahan. That's my first name. Then we have a list of RB3s on depth charts who are mostly unknown. Emmanuel Wilson in Green Bay. I got to tell you, I don't know much about him, really. He made the team. There was a large competition for RB3 between him, Lou Nichols, Patrick Taylor, I think. He won the competition. It's a good name. Amari DeMarcado from Arizona. Again, meh. But James Conner is old, always hurt. Keontae Ingram is totally unproven as the RB2, so he'd definitely be on my list. Elijah Dotson from the Chargers. He's the actual good one. He's actually shown something. He looked really good in the preseason. But that one, there is an obstacle to getting on the game day roster. He's not the RB3 right now. Right now, RB2 is Joshua Kelly, and RB3 is Isaiah Spiller. So Elijah Dotson has a little more to climb, but he's the only one of these players who actually showed that they could be good in the NFL so far. And then Chris Brooks from Miami. I think that's like a very big hill to climb, but Salvon Ahmed is hurt. Jeff Wilson is already out. So Raheem Mostert is ancient, and Devon Achane has struggled with the shoulder injury. So you never know. And then lastly, Adam Troutman. I know, I get it. He's terrible. But if Sean Payton likes him, you never know what could happen. And then let's go to the next live question. What's a low offer for Bijan? I offered Waddle, Flowers, and Achane to start 12 and got laughed at. If that's getting laughed at, you're just not going to buy Bijan. So forget that. Waddle is worth almost as much as Bijan, let alone with Flowers added. This is a big overpay, so I'm not doing that. And then review from the last show. Scooter says, great show at Tyler F. Creator. Thank you. I appreciate that. I love the positive feedback on the shows. I'm trying my best. YouTube is hard. If you like it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notifications bell. But I'm telling you, YouTube is hard. It's a grind. I don't have the same easy success that I have on Twitter or even on Patreon. It's telling that I have almost half the patrons as the views of my best videos. It's telling me I'm not doing very well on YouTube. If I can't even get double the people to watch for free as I can to pay for content. So any help would be much appreciated. I try my best to be both entertaining and actionable. No bullshit. No, everything is good. Oh, yes, both sides of the trade are okay. Oh, yes, I don't want to hurt your feelings. We don't do that here. We don't do that. A lot of prominent analysts, that's all they know how to do. They can't do anything more than that. They just want to speak in platitudes. I don't do that. I don't do that here. We're not going to have that. So just, help me help you is what I would say. Let's say liked. Thank you. Comment. Excellent. If you're watching after, comment on the video. Like. Those are very important. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Can't wait for tomorrow's show. Yeah, we'll be doing tomorrow's show, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully, I'll have some co-hosts. I haven't heard back from any of them. But if not, I'll do it by myself. I don't really want to, but I'll do it by myself. I'm not going to let you guys down. Let's see. Where were we? We are now on this. Good question. So this is a Superflex question, and I get this question rather often, to be honest. Rather often I get this kind of question. if you see a startup draft is devaluing quarterbacks, as in not taking them highly in Superflex, will you pivot? Or do you just continue to draft quarterbacks at a value, even if you can't trade them later? At some point, you stop and ignore quarterbacks. So for me, I generally suggest continuing to draft them. You want to accumulate value on your team. However, there does come a point at which I pivot. I start to get a little skeptical after the fourth quarterback because I can see a legitimate use in a Superflex league for actually having 4 quarterbacks. There are injuries. There are bye weeks. There is a limited supply of quarterbacks. I get having 4. To take a 5th one, if no one values them, if it's a quarterback I like anyway, like if I'm going to take, who's a quarterback I like? I'm probably not going to take like Mac Jones as my 5th quarterback when I don't have to. I don't really like him. He doesn't excite me. But like if I'm taking, Jordan Love, who I like a little better, I might do it. Depends. But I wouldn't take 6 or more. So I got a question here about redraft. When would it be appropriate to take a second tight end or second quarterback and redraft 1 QB 5 bench? 5 bench is a small bench. You need to save those bench spots for running backs because those are hard to replace, cost a lot on waivers. A second quarterback in a 5 bench, almost unnecessary. You don't need it because there will be quarterbacks on waivers you can stream. You either have a high-end quarterback, you don't need a second quarterback anyway, or you just play it 1 week at a time. I'm going to say just no to a second quarterback in this kind of bench format. I need at least 6, 7 bench spots to even consider rostering a second quarterback. Then, second tight end depends on who your first tight end is. I would say in this year, there's obviously Kelsey and Andrews. You're never going to bench them, no matter what. Then you have Hawkinson, Waller, Goddard, Kittle, and to some degree Pitts. Those players, you probably aren't going to bench them if they're healthy. You probably are stuck with them given what you paid. I'm probably just going to take the chance that they're good and worry about a second tight end later. Then there's the kind of middling range. Evan Ingram, Pat Freiermuth. If I have one of them, I'm not benching them early, but I am okay taking a second tight end. Like if I can get Sam Laporta with my last pick or Dalton Kincaid with my last pick after I've taken Freiermuth or Ingram, I'm okay with it. But, usually I'm not looking to do that. And then, if I have something I'd love to do is like have Kincaid and Chigakonko, Kincaid and like Juwan Johnson. Like something more proven. Sam Laporta can be paired with someone like Tyler Higbee. I like Tyler Higbee a lot week 1 against Seattle. Rams are going to be behind. No Cooper Kupp. I like Higbee a lot. Laporta, I'd like to wait and see. So if I had Higbee and Laporta, I could see that combination. Second QB, though, totally not in on that. So there's more questions in the chat. Let's get to those. What's up? Welcome. Yes, we're doing the best we can here. And I appreciate that. Try and make the rest of today a holiday for yourself after you're done here. Well, my favorite thing is doing fantasy football. So that's my favorite. Now, will I probably spend all day on Twitter answering questions? No. But the patrons, I never let the patrons down. The patrons are the number 1 priority. Always. So if you're a patron, I will never, ever let you down. So don't worry about asking me questions on a holiday. I get it, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. But I do appreciate the sentiment. I am a human being. Some people don't treat me that way. Especially on X. But yeah, I try my best to deliver for you guys. Any IR stashes that you recommend? Not really. I mean, I think it's an overrated strategy, to be honest with you. It's overrated. You need that IR spot. Most redraft leagues allow you to put out players in there. You need that spot almost every week. I'm not drafting Kyler Murray and sticking him in there to him maybe come back and maybe be good later. It's an overrated strategy. It's not something I'm super in on. Am I crazy to stack Herbert and Keenan Allen with Tyreek Hill and Mostert? So this has got to be a week 1 DFS question. No, not crazy. I don't see why that's crazy. I expect that to be a high scoring game. So not at all. Let's get back to some of the prepared questions. I have 2 more, and then I'll go to the chat and we'll continue until the show's over. What do you expect the startup price for Jameson Williams to be next year? Will it be higher or lower? He's a bust. It's going to be lower. This is called it's take lock. People can't stop. They liked Jameson Williams coming out. They can't let it go. Just like Trey Lance truthers can't let it go. They can't let it go. Who was the last player? Tell me one who had the beginning of their career, this disrupted, entire rookie year, wiped out. Now a 6-game suspension. Who had their career this disrupted and then went on to be good? Who? Tell me one. Quarterback, it does happen because players sit. But tell me a wide receiver who did it. Please, tell me. I'd love to hear one. A running back who did it. You know who most players like this end up like? It's your Darius Geis. That kind of player. This is what this is. I don't want Jameson Williams. I don't want to have disruption. Once we've already missed so many games, the track record is just non-existent. And the numbers show that it doesn't matter why you miss the games. But if your beginning of your career is this disrupted, you don't tend to succeed. You just don't. So I'm out on Jameson Williams. I'm not hearing good things also. I'm hearing bad things. I'm hearing he's lazy. I'm hearing that he's not really fitting in the offense. I'm not hearing good things about Jameson Williams. So he just screams bust. I'm going to trust my gut. I'm going to trust my gut instead of trusting the college profile because the college profile hasn't done anything in the last year and a half. But my gut says it's just not good. And, the numbers of players who start their career like this are essentially, it's a death sentence. So I got to see it. Now, with this suspension, it's gotten to the point where now I have to see it. I'm going to assume he's a bust until I see otherwise. So I'm going to say lower. I loved this question to close the prepared one. So what is one piece of information or news that is flying under the radar but could have a massive impact for Dynasty and Fantasy this year? This doesn't happen anymore. You don't have sleepers. Nothing goes under the radar like this. And if it does, it goes under the radar for everyone like Jeff Wilson's injury. So the one thing I would say I have not heard is the narrative about Treylon Burks. People remember that he was hurt, but now he's going to play week 1, and people haven't kind of gotten back to that. The dip is still in on Treylon Burks. DeAndre Hopkins has been very quiet. I haven't heard anything about DeAndre Hopkins. Not since early camp. So I don't know. I haven't given up on Treylon Burks, and maybe he's a buy. He's been a buy for me for a while. So that's something I would look at. But like I said, getting this type of stuff is hard. Things don't go under the radar like they used to. Let's see here. Maybe run Commanders defense against the Cardinals. Yeah. Right now I have them at 3. I have Baltimore versus Houston at 1, and then Eagles at Patriots at 2, and I have Commanders at 3. So I definitely run them. Amari Cooper, for now, I have him at, where is he? Wide receiver 17. Michael Thomas, I'd like to wait and see. Absolutely. It's a tricky strategy in Dynasty, but it can work. Chris Godwin is sneaky. I don't think so. I don't think Chris Godwin is sneaky. Everyone knows who Chris Godwin is. When am I doing a start sit episode? I'm not. I mean, look, the audience speaks, right? No one watches it. It's been asked for so many times, and I've tried it each of the last 3 years, and then I do it, and no one watches it. So the audience says, thanks for the possibility of a start sit episode. We're not interested. They're just not. There's just no interest in that. I'm sorry. If there was, I would do it. But people clamor for it, but no one watches it. And I think it's because I just can't compete in that algorithm with the very large channels. What I probably could do is do a start sit video where I talk about a few plays I really like compared to consensus. I think that might go over better. But a live start sit episode like this with live questions has never been worth the squeeze. I've tried it so many times, even with the backing of the DLF YouTube, and it still didn't land. So probably never. Also, why would I? I'm so good at answering questions on Twitter and via Patreon. And going live is inefficient. So I think I would do it as a video, but a live start sit episode, I don't see it. I just don't see it. It seems very unlikely. Should I start Michael Thomas or Khalil Herbert in my flex? Full PPR? Great question. I think this is very close. I have Michael Thomas. I love the matchup versus Tennessee, but it's Michael Thomas. I'm a little scared. Khalil Herbert versus Green Bay. I'm also a little scared. Full PPR, I'd lean Herbert. I think it's slightly safer, but it is very close. Running back 30 versus wide receiver 41. It's very close. I'll go with Herbert, though. David Njoku and Gerald Everett. Schultz, St. Pat. Njoku, I like the best of these. Schultz, I've heard bad things. They're running a lot of 12. Not featuring tight end in the offense as a receiver. He's splitting a lot of snaps. Dalton Schultz is off my board. Gerald Everett, I just don't believe. I just don't believe. There's too many receivers there. I think Gerald Everett's going to be the fourth target at best, even if someone gets hurt. They have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams 1 and 2. Josh Palmer's the 3 for now, and Quentin Johnson at 4. But they have 4 receivers ahead of Everett. I think any of those receivers will be ahead of Everett. So he's target 4. And that's not even including Austin Eckler. So 5. The numbers are just not there for Gerald Everett. Am I the only one wanting to start Antonio Gibson and Dotson against the Cards? Dotson I'm a lot more comfortable with. I have Dotson at wide receiver 30. I am very skeptical that Terry McLaurin is going to be 100%. I don't want to start him. I need to see that turf toe be healthy. I have McLaurin at 31, actually, behind Dotson. Gibson, I really just don't. I think anyone telling you that they know what the split between Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson is going to be is lying to you. Nobody could know because nobody has said it. There is no smoking gun. I will say the Cardinals are so bad, I would lean. I have Antonio Gibson a little higher, but I have him very close. I have him at 31 and 32. So, yeah, Gibson is probably not a start for me because I just don't know. If you told me that Brian Robinson had 20 carries this week in a winning game script and Antonio Gibson had 5, I would believe you. So I'm just scared. And I think the upside isn't there. It's going to be a split. It's not going to be a workhorse role. So you're getting split, and the game script scares me. So Dotson, though, with McLaurin hurt, Dotson is a must start, essentially. Thanks for coming on. You're welcome. I always appreciate the opportunity to go on. And I'm going to try to do a little bit more live streams. Why? Because during the season, the turnaround time is more important. If I do a video, and I do what I usually do during the off season, and delay the release till the next day at 2 o'clock. That's not enough. That's too much time to wait. So you might see me do a few more of these like guerrilla live streams, quick live streams. If I have a video I want to do, overdoing, or an Insta drop short instead of recording a video, waiting for it to release. You're not going to see as much of that. So I'm going to do more of this so I can get the information to you fast. Yeah. Again, I don't know between Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, and I don't think anyone really does. I'm the best. Thank you. I'm not going to pretend to be modest and say that I don't know that. I don't do that. A lot of other people would be like, oh, no, I'm not. I suck at this. I appreciate everyone who watches, and I appreciate all of you guys because I know you don't have to be here. This is a holiday. 16 of you right now are here watching me on something I put up last minute. So I appreciate that. But I'm not going to pretend like I don't think. I'm not going to pretend I have imposter syndrome when I don't. If that makes sense. I do really think that I am really good at this. So why would I pretend otherwise? I always say be authentic. If you really feel that way and you're struggling to find your place in the industry and that's how it is, then express that because that's your truth. If you're like me and you feel like, no, like I deserve this. I really am great at this. Start sit is one of my favorite things. I really believe in the Dynasty products and the stuff that I put out, then express that. But just be honest. Be honest because people will see through it if you're not. Mr. Reliable, thanks for all you do. Yeah, I'm working on that. I try to be very reliable, but I also try to have more of a balance with my actual life than I've had in the past. But I always deliver for the patrons. That's always what I promise. On Twitter or X, no promises. I'll get to it if I feel like it, if I want to. On YouTube, I try to deliver a little bit better because, it's me. This is really my content. My stuff on Twitter answering your questions doesn't help me. It doesn't help me unless you're going to watch my YouTube or you're going to sign up for my Patreon. I like doing it, but it doesn't, I gotta stop pushing myself to answer every Twitter question because I don't get a lot back from that. So I just gotta find a little bit of balance. I'm not saying I'm not going to answer Twitter questions, but I just have to balance it a little bit more and focus more on my Patreon and YouTube and making sure that those are perfect. Not perfect, but as good as I can. I have a bunch of teams. Oh, yeah, this is talking about the Thomas versus Herbert decision. Starts it. I have a bunch of teams built around rookies with studs. Bryce, Stroud, Lamb, Brees, Waddle, Laporta, etc. Should I pull back early and focus on Caleb? I generally recommend trying to win unless you really think you can't. But yeah, if you start out 0-3, then yes. We covered this already. Who's your biggest first round bust this year? Also, top 3 busts this season. First round bust. So, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard is the one because you are asking him to do something he's never done. You're saying that he's going to have a workload over the whole season. I'm not saying Tony Pollard is going to be horrible. But if Tony Pollard finished as the RB15, I wouldn't be surprised. And that's crushing you in the first round. So he's someone without an injury that I think could bust. Derrick Henry, decline, injury, definitely on my list. Potentially in the first round. Saquon Barkley, too. He was kind of wearing down last year. So if you notice, all the picks of running backs, they're the ones most likely to kill you in the first round. And there's 3. Other busts, Joe Mixon. Whenever volume is the only reason, I get very scared. Joe Mixon was bad last year. He was bad. He had one good game for fantasy. All the rest of the time, he was bad. The volume's there, but that's it. Volume can be taken away. Volume can be taken away. You just don't know who it's going to go to, but it can be taken away if he continues to be bad, which he has been bad. Joe Mixon has never been an efficient running back ever in his life. He's had 1 efficient season out of 6 in the NFL. So he's another one on my list of busts because it's hard to see it. I know it's hard to see how the volume can be taken away, but it can be taken away. Huh, that I did not know. How many points? Well, that depends on the format, but I have Trevor Lawrence at quarterback 8, and I'm comfortable with him. I'd probably rather take Trevor Lawrence at his price than Joe Burrow at his. Like, if you're telling me Joe Burrow in the 4th or Trevor Lawrence in the 7th, I'd rather have Trevor Lawrence in the 7th. Probably wouldn't even want Trevor Lawrence in the 7th, to be honest with you. But, yeah. Haven't heard about Hopkins for a month. I haven't either. I assume he's there, but I haven't. Hype on Hopkins has been non-existent. But I assume he's still going to be good. But not great. 19. 19 points a game for Trevor Lawrence. Be a little low. Bijan and Gibbs, rookies can be top 5, 10 running backs this year. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I have Bijan at 3 and Gibbs at 10, so I'd have to think so. Another rookie? No, I don't think any other rookies can. I don't think so. Zach Charbonnet, if Kenneth Walker suffered a season-ending injury, I'm not manifesting. I'm not saying I want that. If Kenneth Walker were to disappear with injury, maybe Zach Charbonnet could do it. Without an injury, there's no way. Devon Achane, I don't think Devon Achane is ever going to be top 5. Low-end RB1 is probably his lifetime ceiling because I just don't see him holding up to the volume. And I don't see that happening this year. Yeah, it's true. If you want to start to show, sign up for the Patreon and ask Tyler directly. Absolutely. He's right. It's not worth my time to do a separate video live. It's taking me away from answering a zillion questions from Patreon and Twitter and all otherwise. So yeah, absolutely. It's not the most efficient use of my time, nor energy. I always get exhausted doing it. Rate my draft. CMC, Waddle, Higgins, Fields, Godwin, Pacheco. I mean, it looks good. Fields in the 4th is a bit of a reach. Higgins in the 3rd is like 303. Seems a little high. Godwin, Pacheco. I gotta tell you, it's not my favorite. Sorry. DFS. Yes. Sneaky starts. Deion Jackson, 4,100. I like that. Tutu Atwell. Sneaky. That's sneaky. I don't hate that one. Hayden Hurst. Michael Thomas, maybe not. But the other ones I like. Fantasy Flock. Yes, my competitor. Are they? I don't think I qualify as a competitor for them, but thank you. Tell people in that chat to come watch me. Thanks for answering. You're welcome. Start Van Jefferson or Mims. I'll start Mims. Marvin Mims. I have Marvin Mims right now at wide receiver 52, Van Jefferson at 61. I just don't trust Van Jefferson. I got to see it. I got to see that Van Jefferson actually gets targets, actually gets usage. I got to see that. Marvin Mims, I know, is good. Much, much better college profile. And he has had a full workload in Broncos camp. Does empty cause any concern for Olave? Zero concern. The first person I've heard lower on Pollard, then you're not listening. There's a lot of people who are lowered on Pollard. It's the same argument. It's he hasn't done the workload over a full season argument. So he's projecting. A lot of people have made that argument. I don't think I'm the first. I just think there's a lot of, how do I say this? Loud voices in the industry who say that Tony Pollard is their RB1. And I think that that's ridiculous and not helping anyone. And they're just saying that for attention. So I think that's why it seems like I'm lowered on Pollard, but I'm so low that I have him at RB6 in PPR. That's not low. I don't think. RB6 in PPR. I have him in the top half of RB1s. So you can call that low if you want. I just think he's one of the riskiest picks. Yeah. Yeah, if your RB's in the 12 team or Dobbins and Piron, I'm not optimistic. Appreciate all you do. Love your advice. Thank you. Who would you start? Jerick McKinnon or Jamal Williams? Assuming Kendray's out. Well, that would very much change things, but I'm going to assume Kendray plays. Either way, I'd start Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams is going to be their starter for the first week, almost for sure. Jamal Williams is the answer no matter what. Is Ridley worth the early 3rd round pick? Now we're getting to the point where Ridley's too high. What's the ceiling? That Calvin Ridley is wide receiver 10 in points per game. I mean, Christian Kirk was like 17 in points per game last year. What's the ceiling? 10? I mean, no, you're drafting him at a ceiling at that point. I've moved Calvin Ridley all the way up to wide receiver 18, but I think that's where it's going to end. I don't think I'm going to move him up higher. So early 3rd, no, I'm out on that one. Deep sleepers, we talked about that a little bit earlier. In redraft, Marvin Mims would be on my list. I think that would be Jonathan Mingo. Tajay Spears. Those are some deeper sleepers. Best rookie wide receiver this year. I think it's still going to be Jackson Smith-Njigba. When Jackson Smith-Njigba, who is going to be ready to play early, I think when he gets going, he's going to be ready immediately. He's the one NFL-ready guy. Zay Flowers is looking like he's going to have an opportunity. Jordan Addison, I like too. I like Jordan Addison more long-term than Zay Flowers. But I'll just stick with Jackson Smith-Njigba. I think he's going to have the highest dynasty value after this year because he's going to show the high-end upside that I don't think anyone else can show. Maybe QJ, but I think you have to wait for that on Quentin Johnston. I don't think that's going to be early. He's more of a second-half player to me because the Chargers have 3 decent wide receivers, and I could see QJ getting eased in. I'm out on Tank Dell. I got to see it at the size. I just got to see it. And I'm not hearing that he's going to start week 1. Their starters are going to be Robert Woods, Noah Brown, and Nico Collins, as much as we hate it. So we'll have to see on that. But anyway, 35 minutes. I appreciate it going 35 minutes. I didn't think it would. So I thank everyone for watching. If you watched, make sure to like, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Don't forget about the monetization options on the channel and also my other content. Make sure to like and leave comments on that. But most importantly, the Patreon, that's where I do my main stuff in season because I'm so swamped. So the best way to get a quick answer, start sit, or dynasty trade from me. And otherwise, my live show every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll do recaps. This one, tomorrow, we're going to do a week 1 preview. And then every show after that, we'll be recapping the previous week's action, dynasty content, dynasty trades, redraft, rest of season. Next week starts it. All of that will be on the channel on those Tuesday shows. I appreciate this. But until then, I thank everyone who came in the live chat and gave me this long show that I didn't expect. And I will see you all next time. Peace out.